The Trump staff has put out the word that Chief Strategist Steve Bannon is working on the Trump speech. The news media is obviously going to have to figure out new tools for covering a White House unlike any other in history, a White House that might not have presidential press conferences. Here is what the next White House press secretary told Hugh Hewitt today on his radio show.
I think the thing that you've seen with Donald Trump is that he doesn't look to the past and say, I've got to conform to these precedents. He figures out what's the best way. And so maybe we do, a series of press conferences, but maybe we do some town hall, Facebook town halls. Maybe we go out and solicit input through Twitter. The answer is we're looking at a lot of things.
They're looking at a lot of things, a lot of new and different ways for the president to circumvent the news media and speak directly to the people he's trying to reach, which is not all of the American people. It is that group of Trump supporters. It is obviously time for the news media to look at a lot of things that it has always done in the past that will not work when covering the Trump presidency. NYU journalism professor Jay Rosen says that the model of political journalism is broken and outdated. Today he wrote, "A man in power, untroubled by contradictions and comfortable in the confusion he creates, cannot be held accountable by normal means." Among the habits the news media will have to change is the very high value that it places on access journalism. Professor Rosen writes, "Don't make it all about access to the president and his aides or preserving the routines of White House reporting as the press corps is currently doing, mostly out of habit. A Trump presidency is likely to be constructed on a propaganda model in which fomenting confusion is not a drag on the administration's agenda, but a sign that it's working. Access to such a machinery could wind up enlisting the press in a misinformation campaign." Professor Rosen also says the news media will have to rethink the big get, booking the big interview with the White House insider. Quote, "Every interview with Kellyanne Conway or Reince Priebus is premised on a claim to represent the man in power. This claim may be false, but journalists need people to interview, so they will continue to do it, even though they may be misinforming the public. They may even realize this and be unable to shift course." Professor Rosen joins us. The template you've laid out in this article today, which is must reading for everyone in the media, about the things that we now know don't work, the things that have previously been of very high value to the news media in trying to cover politicians and the presidency. What do you think might work, and what are the main things for the media to steer away from that we've proven do not work in covering Donald Trump?
Well, I think the first thing is to stop chasing access. Access to misinformation and confusion is not necessarily going to help the press. I think a lot of investment needs to be put into outside-in reporting rather than inside-out in this sense. Start from the rim of the government, from the agencies, from the civil servants, from the people on the margins, and work towards the center rather than the reverse. In foreign policy, it might be trying to get information from other governments rather than our own, because our own is not going to help you much. So maybe, I'm being a little facetious here, but maybe you send the interns to the briefing room and you send the experienced reporters outside, because most of what's going to come from the administration is not only going to be not informative, it might be deliberately misleading. It might be contradictory as a matter of policy. It might be fomenting confusion as a strategy. And so this is going to require the White House press to not just be tough or vigilant, but to start in a different place, because Trump has broken many norms so far in his rise to power, and he's going to continue to break.
Jay Rosen, you mentioned Woodward Bernstein's work here in your piece, saying that Watergate-style reporting might not work now the way it has worked in the past.
Yeah, the model of investigative reporting is not just that reporters dig up facts and publish them. It's that the public is alarmed And as the pressure grows, Congress or state legislatures or government in another capacity has to start to take action. And what we've already seen from Trump suggests that even if spectacular exposés emerge, even if there are damaging revelations, the most likely result of that is going to be shouting down the press, defying the facts, make your own reality, and a culture war strategy against the people who are bringing this news. We are so far from the Watergate hearings where a bipartisan group of Congresspeople got to the bottom of that scandal. It's most likely that successful acts of journalism, rather than raising public awareness and leading to reform, will actually lead to more culture war and rage and attacks on the press and demonizing of journalists.
Jay Rosen, thank you very much for pushing the news media's thinking on this and for joining us tonight.